This is Adam Gorney, the National Recruiting Director at Rivals, here with a special guest today of Verron Haynes. Some would say father of 2023 four-star running back Justice Haynes, but I would say Pittsburgh Steelers Super Bowl champion. That's what I would say. All right. What's it like, Verron, to be a dad now of such a talented football player, especially one that is playing the same position too?
Man, it's surreal. I pinch myself sometimes because I think back to, when he was little, he was in the locker room with me, winning the Super Bowl. And it's funny that you mentioned that because we were up in Ohio State the other day, and I ran into Kevin Kohlberg, which is, we call him KC, the GM for the Steelers, and he was like, "Is that him?" Wow, he's grown so much. So,
Yeah.
it's exciting. It's all of this stuff that the parents have, but on the flip side of it, I know like the details that, the beating up the body. And so every hit, I'm like, just get up, like, okay. So that's what is the other side, the flip side that people don't see that I go through in the stands.
Every parent has advice for their kids and thinks they know what's best, especially for their football future as well. But you lived it. You've lived every kind of step along the way. What advice do you give him? Is it something really that you've experienced through your career that you now tell him, or is it really just go out there and do your best, kind of just as simple as that?
Right. So for me, less is more, right?
Yeah.
As a running back, I think he's equipped with all the intangibles that he needs. At an early age, I would give him a little advice on protecting himself. If you're running, run out of bounds because the defense is flowing. Don't predetermine your cuts, all that stuff. So right now, I'm hands off. The only thing I give him is the nuances of just going out there and playing a solid game. The mental aspect, as far as get a pre-snap read, what kind of defense, make your job easier. Don't overthink it. If they're giving you something, take it. That's it. That's the only advice. I'm hands off of him as far as telling him too much. I think he is shown that he's capable of handling what he's handling out there and doing a very good job at it.
In recruiting, there used to be this thing that, I'm going to be the star running back. I'm going to be the featured back. I'm going to be the guy. I want all the carries, and now it seems like there's a difference. And let's take Georgia, for example. They have James Cook yesterday be their main guy. Kenny McIntosh was their number 2. Zamir White comes in. They could have Kendall Milton come in at times. Is that healthy for football, especially at running back, that kids want to play kind of like on all-star teams now? Or would you still rather be kind of that man,
Well, so I'm loving the fact that now you have 2 backs and 3 backs because it kind of spills you, right? And you're fresh throughout the later part of the year, which you need to be. Now, I think, honestly, a running back, I would like to see him get in a rhythm. Now, the 20, 30 carries is gone, which is great. Yeah. I think that's way too much. And if you get a guy of equal or similar talents, I think it helps in a situation when you're going down the stretch and you're able to not miss a beat when you're spilling somebody. That all plays admirable. It plays a tremendous respects in regards to longevity. Sure. Right. It plays a respect when you go see how many miles you have on your tread and your on your tire, because a running back only has so many carries in him. So kudos for this new profound way of getting people more involved. But I per se would like to see series, like give me a whole series so I can kind of gauge and get into a rhythm as well, as opposed to just taking me out after I break a long run.
Justice has been on a lot of visits this fall. I think that's helpful, getting a jump start on that stuff. Like you said, you've been to Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, Notre Dame. I think those are clearly 4 schools that he's very much interested in. Are there particular things that you're looking for when you're on these visits? I mean, the kid is going to get the hard sell, he's going to get the running back room and things, but from a parent's perspective, what are you looking for, to kind of cut through the BS factor that you might get sometimes when you're on these
Right,
trips?
right, right. So what I'm looking for is the complete transparency, right? I want you to be transparent with me as far as uh, don't shoot me the BS.
Yeah.
I mean, been there, done that, right? How many are you carrying in your room, right? That's one of the questions that I always ask. And then where, not just the good, but tell me the bad stuff that he does. Also, I would like to know if you, as a coach, miss on a guy, right? Like, not everybody. Let's be honest. Some of these schools that you're talking about is Power Five school. Most of them, all of them, is
Yeah.
Power Five
Yeah.
schools. So you miss on a guy. How are you now going to develop that guy in other ways,
Sure.
right? You can't just. I mean, you just sat in my house and told me he was the next best thing since sliced bread.
All right.
Now he shows up. And I get it. Next man's up. But what do you do now? Is he just kicked to the wayside?
Right.
Or how do you now mentor that young individual into the next transport part of his adolescent life?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that in my that is where I really see what coaches are made of, right? Like some of the answers that I got back, well, I'll be honest with you. One of the more profound answers that I've gotten back was I like to help the guy. So whether he wants to stay here and like work under me and I can prune him and then he can kind of assist me, be a grad assistant and now be coaching with me. I
Yeah.
was like, okay,
Sure.
that's pretty cool. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool. And then some of them really don't have an answer for that,
Yeah.
you know? And that's in itself tells me all that I need to know. And then another thing that I'd like to get out right up front is where is he on the big board?
Yeah.
Don't tell me that he's number one on your list when I know clearly from you guys, I see all the stuff and I follow the recruiting that he's number like 3 on your depth chart or 4
Right.
or whatever. So
Right.
just shoot it to me straight.
Right. Where do you think he fits best offensively? Do you think it's a pro style system? I mean, there are some schools that are going to run that. Do you think it's kind of a read option kind of system where get to the edge between the tackles, kind of both? I mean, we've seen him. He's a jacked up, strong kid, but he can move too.
Yeah. So that's the interesting part about and that's the difference between Justice and I. The way I played, I was kind of a tweener.
Yeah.
Could catch real well out of the backfield, and that was kind of my niche. But I think he is able to do it all, right? He's got speed, he's got the elusive quickness to make you miss, and he's also got a little bit of size. And with that being said, he's also young and he's going to develop some more. So I think that the system that will best fit him is being able to have him on some mismatches outside, on some linebackers, maybe some safeties, and then also bring him in the box and he can run in the middle too.
Yeah. Going to Clemson soon. I think that's the final visit of the season. Thank
Yep.
God. I mean, you could only be on the road so much, right?
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
We was just talking about Christmas, and I'm like, woo, open the present. Hurry up. Let's get done.
It's your final Southwest Airlines voucher of the year, right? Yeah.
Right.
Let's talk Georgia specifically. You played there. It'd be cool to have him there. I'm sure that would not be something. They're the number one team in the country. They run the ball. They do all that kind of stuff. How do you balance finding the right fit for him and what he wants to do with maybe what your heart tells you that, I want my son to maybe follow in my footsteps,
Hey, I'll be completely honest with you, Adam. I honestly just deal with the coaches.
Yeah.
As far as Justice feeling a perfect fit, I'm letting him be more so involved. As long as you could look me in my eyes, shoot it to me straight, I think you got a shot, right? And from these coaches that we have lined up, the 5 that you just raveled off, I think all of them in their perspective order have great intentions, and they all do a wonderful job of communication. They do a great job of spilling the backs. I have not gotten any pushbacks on any answers that I would have to question.
Yeah.
So honestly, I'm letting him figure it out. I did it my way. You know, I told Justice when I took my hands off of him, and I one thing I'm proud that I had this honest talk with him when he was like 12. It's like, dude, I'm not going to make you do anything that you don't want to, because three things happen the further you go in this, the higher you go in this, whether you take it to the NFL or you take it to college, wherever you go, the higher you go, three things happen. One, politics is going to come into play, period. Two, injuries happen. And then the third thing, you might just flat get beat out. So what is going to be your niche to come back, resilience to hard work, all that stuff? So when it comes to the recruiting process, I just wanted to know that he is getting developed off the field as well as on the field. And I think Mom and I coincide with that. As far as where he chooses, that's on Justice. I want it to be his path, because you got to love it, not me. I loved my decision. I lived with it. So I don't want anybody coming back and saying, I did it for you and it didn't work out, right? So there we go.
Last thing, Verron, and this is more of a question for you. And I talk to thousands of kids a year, and you have a son that's in this now. And everyone says, my goal is to play in the NFL. And okay, I mean, that's everyone's goal. And that's a laudable goal. But
Right.
you've been there, you've played in the NFL, you've won a Super Bowl. What does it take? Is it just constant focus on football? Is it just having athletic gifts from God? What does it take to get to that level that you're playing at the highest possible level you can be playing?
I'll tell you that all of the above, what you just named, and it takes a little luck too.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I'll be completely honest with you. The Steelers, when they showed up to our pro day, wasn't looking for Verron Haynes. I just so happened to perform well that day.
Yeah.
Right? They were actually came there to look at another back that we had over there, very talented back, and I just did well, like I said. But a lot of luck has to come into play too, right? And I'll tell you, I'll be completely honest. 300 people come in every year. That means 300 people got to come out. The easy part, after you get there, that's the easy part, getting there. Staying there is the hard part.
Yeah.
I was very blessed to play 9 years. A couple of those years I was hurt. I didn't get the accrued credit or whatever, but I stayed in there for as long as I can. I wasn't planning on doing that. My focus was 1 year at a time, right? So, having that degree, if I could say anything to these kids, is NFL is great, but you got to have that degree. And then when you get there, have a plan to where you want to invest and put your money, because it's not for long.
Right. Again, great. Thank you for joining me, Verron Haynes, the father
Thank
of
you.
4-star running back Justice Haynes in the 2023 class. This is Adam Gorney for Rivals.com.
My guy.